Okay, welcome to part 3 of Beginner's Guide to Drawing a Face. Now I'm going to start off by drawing 3 sections here because I want to start. There's going to be 6 parts of this video, and the first part is to draw the face structure in thirds. Now you'll have heard this several times that thirds make up the face, including the eyes and the proportions from top to bottom, and that's what we're doing, is the proportions from top to bottom. It's worth mentioning that the diamonds on either side of the nose are not the eyes, they're the eye sockets, so it's worth making those very wide. Now if you haven't drawn the face within the 3 boxes, just extend the boxes and work out where they start and end so that it's around the thirds, because it's not always exact, but you want it to be approximately thirds. Okay, so got those 3 sections marked out there, and that is the first part of what I want you to do. The second part, however, is going to be the same structure of the face again, but we're going to focus on each individual aspect that we haven't covered in detail, because I've done this basic structure in part 1. We covered shading and the mid-tone light and shadow in part 2, and in this part we are covering several things. So part 1 of this video is the proportions, which is the boxes on the left, and this is going to be itemizing different aspects of the face, different details. So let's start off by focusing on the nose. That's going to be the second part of our studies on this video. So for the nose, I draw a long rectangle that is standing vertically, and then a triangle that overlaps the bottom of the nose, and then I do the nostrils that curve out only slightly. To make this a bit more clear, I'm going to draw the nose very lightly here, and then the nostrils darker so that you can see what I mean. It's those types of curves, they're very slight, they're not curling round extremely dramatically, and you can even do a little cup for the bottom of the nose. That's for the ball of the nose, and then you can do the nostrils on either side as well. So if you do that, then you'll have something which looks about like a nose. And then I'll do that to this darker version as well. Not all noses are the same, so you can see those are 2 slightly different looking noses, but noses vary, so just do something which approximates those types of shapes. The next thing we're going to be drawing is the ear. It's slightly more technical, so let's do part of the face here. Now the mouth ends, or the lips join, I should say, just before the transition into the chin. So what we're going to have is, from the ear, we're going to have the helix, which curves down from the ear, which is the outer curve of the ear. And we're also going to draw a couple of the different anatomical elements of the ear that you might be able to see from the side. There's a more angular version because I try to make sure that everything can be a little bit more boxy. So there's the angular version of what we're going to draw. Now it is highly obscured because we're not doing really pronounced ears that stick out from the head. We're doing ears that are obscured from the, because it's a face that's straight on, so you can only see part of the ear. Now on the inside, I also want you to try to draw the antihelix. Now that is this type of shape inside the ear. You'll have seen this yourself, and that's what I want you to give a try. And that's what those shapes are. It's not just one curve, it's 2 to make the actual antihelix, which curls in and becomes the crura of antihelix. And then you can also do this little line at the top, and that is just defining the helix. These are just the different elements of the ear. Now you can see there, you can barely see that part of the ear, so it's just little details, and so long as you know how to draw them close up, then you can do slight little suggestions here and there. So that is the nose and the ears. So that's steps 1, 2 and 3 from this video. We've got 3 steps left. So the next is going to be the lips. Okay, so if we've done proportions for part 1, nose for part 2, ears for part 3, the next is going to be the lips. So if this is the triangle for the nose, and that is the downward cup for the mouth, and the hourglass for the bottom lip and the chin, then for the lips I want you to do a little bridge, 1, 2 and 3. Now the bottom lip is a kind of more broken curve, but you could do the top lip as a curve as well and the bottom lip as angles. So instead let's break it down into marks, really simple marks. So you do the horizontal line, the transition going up, the straight transition at the top, and then the line going back down. And the same for the bottom, but they don't join. You see how on the top they join the gap for the lips. For the bottom, I don't want you to join it to the edges of the top lip. Just leave the gap there, and then you have a suggestion of a bottom lip. Now there's a reason for that, which we'll get into in another video. For the time being, if you just follow these steps, lips are all different on people's faces as well, so this is just my guide to how to structure the face with some anatomical details. It's worth following just so that you can catch up to where I was demonstrating in the first video, where you could see me drawing the structure of the face and then the anatomical details and the shading. So let's move on to part 5. If part 4 was the lips, then part 5 is going to be the eyes. Now for the eyes, I want you to do a similar thing to the lips, but instead of it being flat in the center, it's going to angle slightly up and towards the nose. So each eye has a transitional angle on each side, but the center, instead of being flat, is going to angle up and towards the nose. Do another demonstration here. So that is your eye socket. Goes transitional and up towards the nose. And then the eyelid is very close. You start off very close, but not joined. That's the left hand side. And then it separates slightly, so there's a slight more angle on that center line, which is not flat, it angles upwards. And then as it transitions back downwards, it goes close again, kind of tapers in. Now the iris, to draw nice and wide, almost covering the entire eye, because there is very small amounts of the white of the eye that is visible when you look at people's eyes. I'm going to draw it on my my structural sketch here at the side, just so that you can see how they fit in proportionally. I'm not doing eyes that are really big and almost like manga or anime characters. It's going to be a lot smaller and within the eye socket. Similar to how I draw the lips here with these lines, but instead they angle upwards instead of having a flat center. So just practice that, and then doing the iris nice and wide. And I've put the dot of light in the top right hand corner of the eye, and I think that's a good place to put it. So if you just do that for the time being, then you can experiment with different places where light can be reflecting off the pupil. Now, if the light is coming from the top right, as I've put the little circle, then the way that you actually shade the face is going to be the last part of what we do here. It's going to be these shapes that we mark off. So do a kind of light shading, but can you see the shape that I've drawn there? See if you can get something similar. Now that's a kind of, it's not a box shape. That could have been a box shape or a diamond shape, but I basically drew it with strange little bits coming out of the side. And then I'm going to do a bit of light as well at the bottom. So if you can, try to copy where I'm doing these shapes, because the light is going to hit the shadow side of the face on very prominent areas, so the cheekbone because it sticks out the furthest, and perhaps on the lower part of the cheek and the jaw if it is prominent enough. And then the light curves around the curvature of the face, which is why you've got that shape on the forehead, and it's why I've done that shape underneath the bottom lip. Now I've shaded the top lip because the top lip angles downwards, and also shaded darker into the eye sockets going towards the nose. Now on the light side of the face there is transitional forms which make the cheekbone and the cheeks, which are basically they go inwards, they dent inwards because they follow the structure of the skeleton, and with the light is from the top right, then it will hit things which are going to be angling towards it. And that is why I've got certain things there. You've got this part between the eyes which needs to be shaded as well. That's called the perinon. Just a little indent in between the eyes. Now these are the angles that I've done. So if you copy these angles, these shapes, there are 4 different shapes: the forehead, the cheek, the lower jaw, and then the chin. Those are the shapes that I've done to suggest that the light is coming from the top right, and then I create shadows which follow those. So try that for yourself, and then shading in the eye here just to show you as well. Once you've done this with the light, you can shade in the eye, and that is the suggestion of light coming from the top right as well. Now there's more detail. There is the nose to shade, and there is also the hair to draw in, but for the time being that is going to be your homework. 6 different steps of this video. So do as much as you can, practice this several times, and send your results to this email address. And whether or not you want me to share it on my YouTube channel, because I would like to be able to discuss people's attempts at these drawings and discuss where things have maybe been measured in a way which I haven't foreseen, which might change things. But have a go, see how you feel, and I will see you in part 4 of my beginner's guide to drawing a face.